right. First workout in 2 months? Let's push the intensity.
I'm gonna push, I'm gonna push, I'm gonna lift more and more. I'm gonna push, I'm gonna push, I don't care if I get sore. I'm gonna push, I'm gonna push, I'm gonna lift more and more. I'm gonna push, I'm gonna push, I don't care if I get sore.
6.5 hours later.
Oh, I'm so sore. I don't even know if I can lift my arms. Starting back to working out is hard. It's easy to do too much, too fast, and prevent ourselves from getting into a routine, or even end up injured. It's hard to regress and even check our egos to do less than we were doing before. But meeting ourselves where we're at to rebuild is key. That's why I want to share 7 tips to help you avoid the common training mistakes I see people making when first starting back, so you can rebuild even stronger and get the momentum going to see results snowball. And I will warn you, as you build back, it can be hard at times to not compare to what you were doing before. But this comparison game can kill our gains, which is why tip number 1 is to remember every move is earned. It's tempting to try and go back to what you once did before you took time off, but that's a recipe for injury, or at least soreness that may sideline you for weeks, holding you back from getting consistent. You have to build back. You have to earn those moves again. And often it isn't enough to just think do less. You truly need to focus on modifying to match where you're at right now. It may mean taking more than 1 or 2 steps back to focus on fully reestablishing those movement patterns and that mind-body connection. So when you first start back, go back to those basics. Focus on what you feel working with fundamental moves you can then build off of. Even film your movements to check your form. Take pride in earning those exercises and weights back with slow progression. But enjoy relearning to move well first. And note, I said slow progression with earning those moves. A common mistake we make when building back is not only not having earned the moves we include and simply doing what we were doing before, but also doing too much too fast. We go 0 to 60. We jump off the couch and expect to be back running half marathons right away. Instead, we need to take the approach of doing just enough that we crave more and feel we could have even done more. This will help us ultimately not make ourselves so sore we can't be consistent or compensate due to fatigue so we end up injured. We have to remember that everything is sort of new again, and that new again can make us sore. Being too sore can stop us from doing our weekly workouts as they're laid out, which can make it hard to build that routine and momentum. Not to mention, being sore can change our recruitment patterns, impacting how muscles are engaging in other moves. This can lead to us not getting the most out of our workouts or ending up injured, so we're starting all over again. So remember, less is more starting back. Do just enough that you're craving doing more, but don't until you have a few weeks under your belt. And make those progressions and moves incremental, tracking them over the weeks. Which leads me to tip number 3, don't jump to adding weights first. Adding weights or using a form of resistance is the easiest way to progress a move often. So our first thought as we build back is to simply load moves down. And if we can do a weight, we add more. But just because you can lift a weight doesn't mean your body is truly ready to. And while you may be strong enough, we have to remember that our connective tissues aren't as fast to heal and rebuild. So not only do you want to take your time and slowly add loads to give your body fully time to catch back up, but you want to start with other forms of progression first. Progress or advancement in moves can be achieved through the same but different. Consider first increasing your range of motion for a movement. This can help you build mobility and stability as you progress. Or work up towards the top of your rep range over hitting the bottom to create that strength but also muscular endurance. Even consider adjusting the tempo of a move, speeding moves up to work on your mind-body connection and fast recruitment patterns, and even your power, or slowing moves down to focus more on strength and control. But don't just jump to adding weights. Too often we do this and then ego even starts to get in the way, pushing us to do more than we've earned. Then tip number 4, focus on what you feel working. Don't just rush through. Establishing that mind-body connection to make sure we're moving well is key. We're laying that foundation off of which we will build our future training. This is an opportunity to make sure this foundation is extra strong. Not to mention, the better we're able to activate muscles, the stronger, more powerful we'll be. This focus on muscle activation will also help us ultimately see better muscle gains more quickly. So as you start back, stay intentional with the moves. Ask yourself, what do I feel working as you're doing each exercise? Don't just go through the motions. Don't just rush through. And if you don't feel the correct muscles working, modify the movement. Swap in a different variation, regress to progress. Even assess if other mobility work, especially in your warm-up, is key to help you get the correct muscles working, especially ones that may be underactive from previous injuries or your desk job posture. Which is why tip number 5 is to prioritize your warm-up. Too often, we want to skip our warm-ups to get to the good stuff. We focus just on the calorie burn and muscle building benefits. But our training sessions are a time to learn to move well and even address postural distortions we have from previous injuries and our desk job postures. Especially when we're just starting back, we want to build that strong foundation. We don't want to ignore cracks that will only add up more and more as we progress. So especially as you're starting back, prioritize that mobility work and get in the habit of a warm-up that focuses on foam rolling, stretching, and activation. You want to foam roll to relax tight muscles and start to mobilize joints. Foam rolling can even help you disrupt that mind-body connection to muscles that tend to want to take over when they shouldn't, like your hamstrings for your glutes and the bridge. Then you want to include dynamic stretching to further mobilize your joints and improve your muscle flexibility, stretching out tight muscles. This dynamic stretching also begins to activate underactive muscles before you finish your warm-up with activation exercises. These activation moves isolate muscles to help you really feel them working. This mind-body connection then allows you to better activate muscles in those compound exercises you use in your workout. Like, say for instance, doing a fire hydrant in your warm-up to activate your glutes before then having reverse lunges in your workout. You'll be surprised by how much more you feel your glutes working and see better muscle and strength gains faster because of it. But your mobility work doesn't stop at your warm-up. Not only do you want to then include moves to strengthen through a full range of motion, but you also want to make sure your workouts include exercises that move you in every direction. Often when we start back, we include those fundamental movement patterns, which are so key, but we also get stuck moving in really only one plane of motion. This ultimately can fight against us truly improving our mobility and stability, but also hold us back from becoming functionally more fit and building muscle as quickly as possible. The more directions we press and lunge and pull in, the more we're hitting every aspect of a muscle group and really using a joint through a full range of motion. And sometimes these simple tweaks in posture and direction can make a basic move harder. You may find by including a side lunge, you feel your glutes and adductors more while improving your hip stability, all while even using lighter loads than maybe you could use for something like the reverse lunge. With a focus on moving in every direction, we'll also improve our core strength, including rotational and anti-rotational moves. All of this is key to building back more quickly while creating that solid foundation from the get-go. It can also allow us to challenge ourselves with less volume and loads to truly address any weak links we may have. And with all of this, tip number 7 is stay consistent. It's tempting when starting back to get distracted by all of the options out there and don't want to try all the different moves and tools. Don't. Stay focused on your goals. Have a clear plan in place. Avoid jumping around too much as this can lead to injury and results not building. Not to mention you're constantly going to feel sore and like you aren't progressing. While you don't want to repeat the same moves every single day, you do want to have a weekly schedule you repeat for even 3 to 8 weeks straight. This will help you slowly progress moves week over week and be able to track your progress. You'll also find your body adapts more quickly so you can ultimately see changes faster. We have to remember that we get good at what we consistently do. And this applies to our training and movements too. So if you're starting back to training, focus on meeting yourself where you're at, progressing moves with intention and purpose, while following a clear plan that keeps you consistent and earning every single move you do.